Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's not really afternoon anymore. It's 6:18 p.m., July 19th, 2023. And I've got a lot of updates to tell you guys and where I've been the last 24 hours and stuff. It has been raining here a lot. Humidity is 100%. Every time it rains here, it takes me twice as long to do anything. That's sort of one of the downfalls of being on a homestead or a farm, is that the rain really is debilitating. I mean, we want the rain for the flowers and the plants and things to grow, and we need it, for the water and stuff. But it was very windy. Branches fell down. Of course, a lot of mushrooms grew in between. But, I went chasing after baby chicks yesterday because of the rain, and the mother couldn't get her chickies back into the coop. One fell between the stairs. It's just always something. But also, one of my long-term friends' sister, their sister passed away, and I was on the phone with her for probably a couple of hours yesterday, and then another hour the day before. And then a client from 8 years ago contacted me to do a solar return for her. A solar return is an astrological birth date chart reading for a year. So I have to work on that. It was really nice to hear from her. So that's what's been going on here. I also have been extremely tired because these criminals are not allowing me to get more than a couple of hours of sleep. This is not normal. I'm not like an 8-hour sleeper. Like, I would sleep for 6 hours like most of the time and I'd feel just fine. But these creatures are sending radio frequencies into my ears yesterday. The tinnitus was actually hurting my ears yesterday to the point where I had to stick magnets on my ears. It was that bad. It's debilitating. And another targeted friend who has a newsletter was mentioning that even though not everybody gets the voice to skull, the V2K, where they actually hear voices, that there is a silent V2K where it's being done subliminally. And I believe that could be happening to me, folks. It's been increasing in scope. It's been stealing my hours. It's so not like me. Even when I'm tired, like, I'm accustomed to, as a graduate student, accustomed to not getting a lot of sleep and just doing just fine. But what these people are doing is not natural. It's completely unnatural. It interferes with my circadian rhythms. And it cannot be healthy. It's got to be really harmful. But this is the news that I heard. I don't know if you remember, back in January, I interviewed with Frank Allen, Targeted Massachusetts, also the Institute of something Justice that he created. But he never posted the video about the cyberstalker that had been harassing me, and on and off continues to do so, or others. See, he seems to get off on harassing targeted people. But after I filed a complaint with the Attorney General, it appears to have subsided a little bit, because it really was atrocious. I'm not like a spring chicken. I'm not a young person where this 30-something-year-old guy should be harassing somebody who's old enough to be his mother, or maybe even his grandmother, right? It's like very abusive. So anyway, I had the interview with Frank Allen about it, and he was all, upset about it, but he never posted the video. And as a result of my asking and him not posting the video over weeks and months, I decided to block his phone calls and remove myself from his mailing list. So today, one of you wonderful subscribers, I won't mention your name because you didn't mention whether or not I can mention your name, so I won't, stated that Frank Allen posted some information on Facebook that he was withdrawing all support for targeted justice, for targeted individual events, and all the 4,200 members his membership base. So I don't know what that is about. I don't know if this is a personal thing that's happening to him. I don't know if it's something that's happening tragically in his personal life where he has to attend to something else, some other business. I don't know if it's a psyop. You know, it's just, I'm just putting the information out there for you guys. I also saw something about how Targeted Justice is now going to be sending letters to cell phone tower owners to disclose the liabilities, if they've disclosed the liabilities to their shareholders. Okay, well, that's really interesting. But there have been groups out there that have been doing that for a decade. The Environmental Health Trust actually sued the FCC and won a lawsuit because the FCC had not updated, some regulations, I believe, from the 1960s, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and look. But you can search my channel for FCC or Environmental Health Trust, because I did a video on it about a year ago. But there have been so many groups. There's one called Zero 5G who writes about this. So, I mean, I'm really curious about what this is about and why they're getting involved in cell phone tower. But that's good. Anybody who wants to get involved in that, I think it's a good thing to do, is to get people to take down these towers. In fact, I believe, and even in CHINA, some of the people there were so disgusted with the facial recognition that they were covering their faces and then taking down some of those cameras and stuff. So that was that. And then I'm on a mailing list. I don't remember when I did it, but let's see. Let me just find it here. So I'm on a mailing list for peer-reviewed articles. And I received one today that I thought was really interesting, at least for me. And I'm sure there are other targeted people out there that would find this interesting. It's called Modern Camouflage Techniques. Okay, so I downloaded the PDF, and it's here. So I've been reading through it. I'm only up to page 52. I'm not going to read this whole thing, guys. I mean, some of it is really boring, honestly. But let me scroll up. 1 second. Let me get up to page 1 here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Let me show you. And I will post a link in the description box. And this little cute little image here was painted by Sawlight on eBay. And she's a cat lover and donates all of the money from her little artwork to a local shelter, which is really cool. Modern Camouflage Techniques, folks. Here, it's up 92 pages. Good luck reading this, but you can scroll through. This was written as a SNAP requirement as part of a course, and has therefore not been exhaustive as may have been desired. The author has tried to provide an overview of his thoughts fused with data available in books and the internet about the subject of camouflage, its techniques, and their application in the realm of the modern defense forces. And this is the individual who wrote this paper. I'll read some of the index to you. Of course, the introduction. Ambiguous camouflage terminologies, evolution of camouflage in the armed forces, factors affecting recognition in the visible region, passive surveillance, visual camouflage for the Navy, signatures in the infrared and thermal regions, microwave management, acoustic signatures, magnetic and electromagnetic signatures, signature management for helicopters. And then it goes on to Chapter 3, Materials for Camouflage Application, Radar Absorbent Paint. These are the materials used. Radar absorbing material, IR camouflage materials, coating materials for camouflage in the visible region, multifunctional applique for corrosion control. Keep that in mind, corrosion control, because in order to study corrosion control, they have to first learn how to corrode something. And that is something they do to targeted people, is they have the ability to instantly rust anything. It could be new, it could be old, it could be metal, it could be scrap metal, it could be any kind of metal, and they will automatically rust it. So here it is, multifunctional applique for corrosion control, modern trends in camouflage materials. Chapter 4 is modern camouflage techniques. Here are the techniques: thermal and visual camouflage system, photo stealth technology, low thermal signature camouflage garnish, vehicle carried system for camouflage with foam, multi-perspective background simulation cloaking process and apparatus, retro-reflective projection technology, cloaking tanks, lightweight camouflage screen system, 3-color infrared camouflage system, low emissive camouflage flakes, Flakes, laser pitting, infrared camouflage system, and flexible camouflage system, camouflage nets, camo net, multispectral camouflage net. Chapter 5 is stealth. Background, application of stealth technology to aircrafts and helicopters, the same for ships and submarines, the same for armored fighting vehicles. The conclusion and references. So they first start out with, what is camouflage? In nature, every advantage accrued to an animal increases its chances of survival and therefore its chances of reproducing. The simple fact has caused animal species to evolve a number of special adaptations that help them find food and keep them from becoming food. One of the most widespread and varied adaptations is natural camouflage. It's an animal's ability to hide itself from predator and prey. And in war, the function of camouflage is very simple. It's used to hide yourself and your equipment from the enemy. The art of concealment by altering an object to blend with its physical surroundings and environment. This is why, folks, with my new camera, when I'm photographing my field and it starts to blur, that's not me. It's not the camera. They don't want you to see that there is equipment and cloaked people hiding out on my property, because you guys are so astute that you would find what it is that they've stuck back in there. People have been using camouflage in some form or another from the beginning of human civilization, and in fact, the basic idea of camouflage predates humans entirely. It comes from the natural adaptations that let animals blend in with their environment. Initially, it was only necessary to conceal an object from the visible physical surroundings. However, as technology has developed, it has become necessary to conceal an object over multiple bands of the electromagnetic spectrum. Did you hear that, folks? Let's repeat that again. As technology has developed, it has become necessary to conceal an object over multiple bands of the electromagnetic spectrum. Most notably, in addition to visible concealment, it has become necessary to conceal an object's infrared radiation, IR, to prevent thermal detection systems and the like from identifying an object based on its heat signature. That's what my cameras picked up, folks. These cloaked creatures. They don't want you to catch them even on your cameras. Technological advances have increased the directional threat spectrum and therefore encouraged countermeasures which can be discussed subsequently. So it goes on to the different kinds of camouflage. And let's see. Okay, I want to scroll down to cloaking. Cloaking. A device which renders something invisible or undetectable. Operationally, it is an extension of the basic technologies used by stealth aircraft, such as radar absorbing dark paint, optical camouflage, cooling the outer surface to minimize electromagnetic emissions, usually IR, and other techniques to minimize other EM emissions and to minimize particle emissions from the object. Alternately, metamaterials provide the theoretical possibility of making electromagnetic radiation appear to pass freely through the cloaked object. So it goes on to discuss the evolution of camouflage in the armed forces, which I'm going to scroll down to page 11, folks. Here are some photos. Oh, I want you to see this. Here. 1 second. This diagram here. In the center, the red there, it says avoid kill. The signature management concept has the purpose of defeating surveillance and target acquisition weapon systems that operate in the electromagnetic spectrum. And the most cost-effective way to increase the probability of survival is through signature management to avoid detection. A signature is a unique signal for each vehicle, piece of equipment, and personnel to sensors operating in the electromagnetic spectrum. So some above water signatures are radar, infrared, radiated noise, visual, electromagnetic, and electronic, which they say will not be discussed. Below the water signatures are broadband, narrowband, and transient radiated noise, target echo strength, ferromagnetic, corrosion-related magnetic field, DC electric field, alternating electric and magnetic fields. But I want to get to page 11. Let's see. Okay, here we are. So there are, let's see. No, that wasn't it. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Let me just scroll down a little bit. So there's passive surveillance. And passive surveillance systems utilize electro-optical systems operating in the visible wavelength and infrared wavelength bands. I'm sure, like, if Helena Chorber were still with us, she would be able to explain some of this better. But they go on to say how they use camouflage patterns painted on conventional surfaces. Let's see. And then they go on to discuss how camouflage was used during World War I and World War II. And they give you a lot of diagrams here. And here are the ships. Okay, so it says apparently color in the visible wavelength region and the band average and spectral in the thermal wavelength region is a requirement to be able to camouflage a system to prevent visual and IR detection, which provides real-time control. So, I mean, some of this is extremely technical, but you can scroll through it and find the different devices. So when somebody, you know, like your sheriff, and you tell him that there are people that are cloaked on your property and they look at you like you're nuts, You can show them this document that these cloaking devices, that this camouflage, not it has existed before World War One, and they have been mimicking these technologies for decades and decades. They have been studying them for decades. I remember many years ago, and of course, I'm an animal lover, so it really disturbed me. And not that I have any affinity to the octopus, It's an unusual creature, but why disturb it? So there was this really brilliant octopus that would be able to answer questions and stuff. And then they realized that the octopus, when under stress, would change its color to blend into its environment. So they wanted to study the octopus. They wanted to see how the octopus was able to change and camouflage itself. And there are other animals. There are fish that do this. So what they would do is they would go hunt down these octopus and keep them, in containers and study them and experiment on them and dissect them. It was just disgusting. I mean, honestly, some of the experiments that are done are just so disgusting. But, leave the natural beauty of animals alone. They have this ability to camouflage themselves as a protection in an environment that will eat them alive. So anyway, that's it for that. So I'm going to post this information in the description section, and let's see if there's something else here. That is about it, folks. Oh, yes. There was one comment from an individual that I don't know, and I'm sure when I say what he said, you're going to say, oh, I've heard that before, right? You've heard it all before. You get these trolls. Let's see if I can find it here. You get trolls that leave ridiculous comments like telling you that you need help. So here's a comment. The person goes by the letter N, as in nonsense. He goes on to say, I suggest you try talking to someone about this. Therapists can help more than you might imagine. That was in the case of the contract stalkers using seam rippers to destroy my belongings. Which, by the way, folks, I still owe you that Zerzetsung fashion show. Between the weather and other things, and having to free up some space on my other phone, I just haven't done. I'll get to it eventually, because I've got all the clothes out here, in my house, in bags, because I want to show them to you. But yeah, so this person, and we don't need you around here. We're providing evidence for people who really do their research. And if you performed your research, you would know that contract stalking, cause stalking is a thing. So getting on that topic, and before I was going to sign off, this is a book, Stopping a Stalker, A Cop's Guide to Making the System Work for You by Captain Robert L. Snow. And in here, he writes about cause stalking. Right? He writes about cause stalking. When people frequently and absolutely believe in a cause, they will many times go through great lengths to promote it. History is replete with examples of individuals and groups who have been willing to go through these great lengths, even willing to die or kill for a cause, particularly when they believe their cause is morally or religiously just. In recent years, a number of groups and individuals, in an effort to promote and further their cause, have begun to use stalking to intimidate their opposition. Okay, so Mr. N, naysayer. Okay, N is for naysayer. Please, I don't need your comments. You're now blocked. Okay? You suggest my talking to somebody about it if then a therapist can help. Well, guess what? I have a master's in psychology and an undergraduate degree in psychology, and I'm completely sane, and I'm providing evidence here, as many other targeted people do, because it is a thing. And one day, perhaps you will be targeted, or maybe you are already, and you're just a paid-for-hire perpetrator, spreading propaganda and misinformation. So here you go, folks. Smack out of the book, Stopping a Stalker, A Cop's Guide to Making the System Work for You by Captain Robert L. Snow. Cause stalking. Stalking to intimidate their opposition. Okay, so at some point, perhaps we can get more into cause stalking instead of contract stalking, instead of gang stalking, cause stalking. So we should get into this. If anybody has some good information on cause stalking, please leave a comment down below. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. And also on my channel, this is another thing that took a lot of time, and I'm not finished yet. I received a message from YouTube that my content is now able to be monetized. So they gave me the option of clicking a button to monetize everything or to selectively choose what's monetized. So rather than click all of them, because I know that some of them are not user friendly, they're not, something that I would want ads on or anything like that. So I chose to do it manually. And guys, it's taking me forever. I think I'm only up to January of this year, so I've only gone back that far. So I've got like a whole nother year to go in it. YouTube automatically monetizes all shorts. So if you start to see little advertisements and stuff, this is what you can do. I know it's annoying, but most channels have the advertisements. You can watch the brief ad, and that donates money to the cause. It donates money to me. Or you can just click skip and get right on with it. I think with the shorts, though, I'm not sure how it works with the shorts. I have to check it out. But here you go, folks. Cause stalking. Written by a captain. Retired captain of the police department. He knows all about cause stalking. Okay, so at some point, we'll get into cause stalking. And then there's unintentional and third-party victims. How stalkers get their information. The criminal justice system and stalking. What can a victim do? So, I haven't read a lot of it. I think I only read the first 3 chapters, folks. I'm just so busy and don't have time. But I look forward to your questions and comments down below. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening in and all your nice comments and suggestions. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, signing off for now.